A new zinc-based battery has just been tested, and the numbers on this thing, honestly unbelievable. So this is not just a lab-only idea or some sort of theoretical future concept. It's a real battery. It has done 40,000 full charge and discharge cycles. It still has 93% of its original capacity left. To put that into something that you can actually picture, that is the equivalent of roughly 12.4 million miles of driving, or about 21,000 million kilometers of driving. That is crazy. And the next crazy thing is we don't even know where the limit is. It could be 30 million miles, it could be 40 million miles, we don't really know. So this is the sort of technology that could genuinely outlast us, not the car, us. And that is absolutely ridiculous. So before we jump into it properly, here is the thing you'll want to know. This battery doesn't even sacrifice energy density to achieve this. So what's the is there a catch? What is the catch? Energy density is a big issue these days. That is usually the trade-off. Long life, low density, but not here. This new zinc organic design is hitting around 193 watt hours per kilogram. Pretty good. So that puts it right back up there with Geely's golden brick battery. BYD's blade battery, 165 watt hour. The Gen 2, 210. It's not as good as that, but it is pretty good. It is definitely something we could use in a car. So if you're wondering whether this is another fringe chemistry or something that can only do one thing very, very well, no. It's performing at a genuinely impressive level across the board. There are very few things to complain about. Hello folks, my name is Ben Alexander. Thank you so much to all of the subscribers, all of the channel members. These are the channel members, so many channel members these days, and all these new subscribers. So I just want to say thank you very much. It is nice. All these people chuck in a couple of dollars every month. It helps me make the videos. So thank you very much. So what exactly is this battery, and how have they managed to push it this far? Researchers from both China and Singapore have developed what they are calling a 3D polymer-based zinc organic battery. Organic batteries for years have been seen as the holy grail for sustainability, because they are kind of lightweight, they're fully recyclable, and made from low toxicity materials, and they don't rely on nickel, cobalt, lithium, or any of the usual metals that create supply chain headaches. One of the biggest advantages of sodium ion chemistry, for example. The problem has always been the same: poor stability, low energy density. They degrade way too quickly. They dissolve actually, which is which is terrible. They simply can't deliver enough power to be useful for long enough. This research team has effectively cracked those limitations. This is a very big deal. They built a 3D polymer framework using a material called HATTP, and there's some complex words I can't really say. Hexaazotyrophyllene based polymer created by combining HATCN and hexaaminotriptosine. The structure reduces solubility, increases conductivity, and increases the number of electroactive sites. I tell you, battery chemists are bloody clever. They're very clever people. I'd love to have a dinner with just 6 or 7, battery designers or chemists and me, and I can just ask them stuff. So the result is a porous 3D skeleton that is incredibly stable, highly active, and that is the key to why this battery performs the way that it does. It delivers an initial discharge voltage of around 1.32 volts, if I am correct, a midpoint voltage of 1.17 volts, and again retains over 93% of its original capacity after 40,000 cycles, full charge cycles as well. Electromechanically, the battery operates through a reversible co-insertion mechanism, meaning ions can move in and out without damaging the structure, and it enables something called a 5-electron transfer process, which basically means very high redox activity, and that is a big part of why it can cycle so many times without wearing out, because it doesn't really damage itself. Now, to be really clear, batteries are very complex. this battery hasn't been put into an electric car. It's not at that stage yet, and honestly, it doesn't even need to be. No one is ever going to drive 12 million or 20 million miles or 30 million miles in a car. Not even a taxi driver would do that. So there's no real world use case for that kind of cycle life in vehicles. But for energy storage, this is exactly what the world is waiting for. An almost infinite cycle life. It's just mad, isn't it? So home solar, grid scale storage, wind backup systems, data centers, anything where batteries are constantly cycling every day. Chemical batteries I'm talking about, not necessarily water. But you know, water batteries are very good too. Zinc organic batteries like this make perfect sense. I mean, incredibly good sense. They're very, very safe, non-flammable. They use cheap, abundant materials. Basically no dendrite issues where they can short inside the cells. They're recyclable and they can last decades. They're quite stable now, thermally stable, not actually that expensive to produce. The supply chain issue is not really a big, massive issue for these anymore. So to give you an example, CATL's Naxtra sodium-ion battery just going into production this month. It's supposed to be next month, is actually this month. It itself is incredibly impressive. It's estimated to last around 5 million kilometers before reaching 70% of its original capacity. So therefore, after 5 million kilometers, it's lost 30% of the original capacity. Sodium is already seen as the long life champion. It is the victor, basically. But this zinc battery is operating in an entirely different stratosphere, entirely different world, honestly. So we're talking life cycles that are 8, 10, 12 times higher than the newest sodium chemistries. And that is wild. And even though I'm a huge supporter of sodium ion and as the future for affordable EVs and storage is reliant on sodium ion, it's very possible that zinc, not lithium, not sodium, becomes the backbone of long-term stationary storage simply because of its uninterrupted lifespan. Energy density is also not a weakness here. So at 193 watt-hours per kilogram, it's significantly higher than many assumed an organic battery could ever achieve. And that opens the door to future consumer electronics too. So imagine things like watches, you know, your Apple Watch or your phones and things like that, where anything that you wear, basically, where the battery essentially just doesn't bugger up. It just never degrades. Or your computer, an Apple Mac computer, something like that. You'd buy a device and the battery would still be healthy 20 years later. That, you know, the researchers themselves say that 3D molecular polymerization, as they call it, the technique they're using is the powerful strategy needed to overcome the issues that killed zinc organic designs in the past. And based on these results, they're correct. They're right, aren't they? This isn't a small improvement. This is actually a genuine industry level milestone. So how do zinc organic batteries work in simple terms for the lay person? Instead of using lithium or cobalt, they use zinc as the anode, which is very, very cheap, very abundant and safe, and an organic polymer as the cathode. You've got an anode and a cathode, and because the electrolytes used are aqueous, water-based in short, they can't catch fire, they don't enter thermal runaway under any circumstances, so they don't need complicated cooling systems, they don't need rare minerals, they tick every box for being a very safe battery. They're very, very safe, very cheap, endlessly durable. Large-scale energy storage systems would greatly benefit from them. And the recyclability means that you're not stuck with the massive waste at the end of life, which in this case might actually be 50, 80 or 100 years down the line. For EVs, the cycle life is probably overkill right now. Nobody really needs 40,000 cycles, but the energy density is promising. And if the cost is competitive when scaled, there could be some very niche automotive uses. For example, you could put these batteries in rideshare vehicles or autonomous cars that just pick people up in and around cities and just drive every day, all day, for 10 years, something like that, and it would be a brilliant thing. So for the grid, also would be an incredibly good thing. This could be the battery that undercuts nuclear even gas and some renewables purely on lifespan alone. It's incredibly good. The lifespan is the key to the success of this battery, I think. Even the longest living lithium iron phosphate packs can't touch the life cycle that this has. So even sodium would struggle to match this over the very long term when you combine ultra long lifespan with safe chemistry, high recyclability, cheap to produce. You're looking at a technology that could genuinely change how countries build their energy infrastructure. This is with the exception of sodium ion, this is the first big breakthrough in terms of this is the thing that could really be a part of our energy storage, basically for the grid. So right now, the 4 battery technologies I think are worth paying attention to going forward are solid state. There are different variations of solid state. Obviously, solid state is misunderstood commonly because we think it's solid state and then semi-solid state, and people get very annoyed about that. But in reality, they're kind of a very similar thing. A lot of individual brands have their own definition of what a solid state battery is, and so some brands call it solid state if it's 96% solid and 4% liquid, for example. Others have a more tighter definition, which is 2 or 3% liquid, and they would then call it anything more liquid than that, and it's not called a solid state battery anymore. And so it's very much brand defined, and that's where people get a bit grumpy about it. So we've got solid state, zinc-based aqueous organics like this one, sodium ion and lithium iron phosphate. These 4 together will cover nearly every use case that we have as we move away from fossil fuels. For large scale grid storage specifically, zinc might be the most, or the dark horse that overtakes almost everything else, simply because it can run non-stop literally for decades. That is what this battery is. It's next level. What do you think? Do you see zinc organic batteries becoming a major player in the next 10 or 20 years? Do you think sodium ion will still dominate? Let me know in the comments. Really love to hear your thoughts on this one. I think this is going to be a really interesting one to read the comments. So thank you so much, and see you in the next video.